All right, so we're gonna go ahead and watch our fourth video, which did not win the poll, but you know, like I said, didn't want to end on a sad note. This is Pixel Bush's Predator and Dead by Daylight: The Potential and Problems. Like I said, and say at the beginning of all these, there's the link to the video right there. This content would not be possible if it weren't for Pixel Bush, so please make sure you at least subscribe to the homie. Give the video a like if you can, because it would not be possible without their help. So, yeah.
Friends and foes, survivors and killers. Let's sit around the campfire together and talk about Dead by Daylight. Specifically, the Predator franchise, and the potential and problems that could come with adapting this icon of science fiction into a licensed chapter for Dead by Daylight. Okay, before we get going properly, something I do want to just let everyone know about. This video has nothing to do with the alleged leaks that were posted to 4chan very recently, alleging to be by an ex-behavior dev in these,
which seem very, very fishy. They don't seem legit like at all. They do not seem legit at all.
They cover topics like upcoming licensed chapters, the work ethic going on at behavior, and the Fog Whisperer program, and all sorts of other crazy stuff like that. If you want my verdict on it, it's all complete horseshit. You watch the video by the King that covers this, and I agree with basically everything he's saying on that matter. I'm only bringing this up because in those leaks, it talks about Predator and Alien being potential future chapters, and this video was prepared well in advance of these leaks being previewed. This isn't speculation, this isn't a video about the leaks. I just think Predator's a really cool franchise and wanted to talk about it.
Poor hunting grounds, poor hunting grounds.
Where did it go? In February, which was a license that was also mentioned in the leaks. Friday the 13th. Yeah, I'm covering Jason, baby. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really pleased with it, so thanks. Let's be real. As soon as I put the Alien video out, you all knew this was coming. Alien was 20th Century Fox's prestige sci-fi franchise.
Yep.
The golden child, beloved by critics for decades, and glittering with accolades, star power, and consistent cultural relevance. By comparison, Predator was always the second best. The volatile younger sibling who could never quite keep it together, settle down properly, or live up to the expectations set up by the elder. But in recent years, the prodigal son has well and truly returned to people's hearts and minds.
Yeah, because people don't really get Predator, right? Because people don't really get Predator just as it feels like the directors that ended up inheriting Predator for Predator 2, AVP, so on and so forth, they don't get it, right? Because it's a subversion of expectations. Is instead of all of the victims being scared teenage girls who don't know what's going on, they're trained military and they're all super buff, so they should not theoretically be in a horror situation for any reason because they are the apex of macho-ness. But then it's a subversion of expectations because then they're turned on their heads, right? Because lo and behold, there is a bigger apex predator, that being literally the Predator, who literally hunts the galaxy for the best challenge, who is literally trained at taking down people just like you. So it's it's interesting because you get to see people who should theoretically be strong put in their weakest points, which is interesting, right? But we don't really get that. Right. Rest well, Des, I appreciate you.
With the release of Prey reminding audiences that this franchise still exists and was even,
before I could watch that.
good
so
that
sad.
one time. Just like it has in the box office, in critical reviews, and in the wider cultural consciousness, Predator has always kind of played second fiddle to Alien when considered for a licensed chapter in Dead by Daylight. There's a couple of reasons for this. The higher consistent quality and quantity of Alien product over Predator has contributed to the former franchise being more favourably understood in general, and Alien has always branded itself as a horror franchise first and foremost, while Predator tends to steer clear of the horror label as a more straight-laced sci-fi action series.
Yep.
While there is plenty of horror-esque tension in the Predator movies, at least the ones that are competent enough to try, it's got far more in common with Alien's action-packed sequel than the claustrophobic and pretty nihilistic atmosphere of that first film. Predator not being a traditional horror property is probably a big reason a lot of Dead by Daylight players won't consider it as a potential license.
Yeah, Predator isn't exactly scary, it's just kind of cool, right? Nothing in Predator, scares me. I just think it's really neat. I never thought about that way. That's a good point.
They do Alien, consciously or otherwise. I'm here to potentially, open your mind a bit to the potential for a Predator chapter in Dead by Daylight, to pick through the history of the franchise that brought itself back from the dead and distill what makes it truly special and worthy of adaptation into the game we all love, or at least love to hate.
No, that means you should quit. I heard that from someone else. That just means you should quit.
Considered the glory days of commercial cinema, the 1980s marked the birth of many film franchises that would become box office staples for the rest of the 20th century. Along with the burgeoning horror comedy subgenre, marked by movies like Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Which is very good.
The 1980s was a decade where the action movie really became a consistent moneymaker at the box office. Terminator, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Rambo, Indiana Jones, all titans of movie history that oozed testosterone all over Hollywood like a slug with a six-pack and a lantern jaw. This was the environment in which Predator was born, and in a lot of ways it really shows its age. With the cast being about 95% very muscular men running around with their shirts off, Predator bubbled with even more testosterone than its contemporaries. And for a good chunk of its opening act, it's basically indistinguishable from those other movies. Everything from the extended firefight, which is mostly just random gunfire, explosions and people falling over, to the casting of Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of rehashing the role he played as Captain John Matrix in Commando 2 years prior.
Yep.
It all makes the whole film reek of the 80s so much that you can't bring a lit match near it or the hairspray will catch fire. But once the titular Predator starts to make its presence felt among the characters and audience alike, the tone of the film starts to change.
Yeah, because all these, like I said, all these big dudes who theoretically, like, are so militarily trained that they shouldn't be losing, are suddenly being put in the same situation that, like, Laurie Strode is in like, Halloween, or put in the same situation that Nancy is in Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, they are suddenly put in a situation that they theoretically probably haven't been in since they were children. And so it's really, really cool to see, like, people that shouldn't be scared be horrified, you know?
Suddenly our untouchable and charismatic men of action...
Dude, this scene here, when he starts shaving himself to calm himself down, is so... It's just anxiety, right? And almost like you feel bad for him. Because, like I said, it's for a lot of these guys, it's probably the first time they've been scared since they were, like, children. Because they are so macho, because they have so much military experience. So the fact that he literally starts shaving himself, like in the middle of being stalked, just to calm down, like, that's sad, man.
From being the hunters to the hunted, as this unseen stalker tracks them through the jungle to pick them off one by one. This is where I would say Predator starts to flirt with the concept of being a slasher movie. There's a lot of voyeurism inherent to the Predator's hunt as we see through its alien thermal vision and watch its hapless victims stagger about the jungle, totally unaware of what's out there waiting for them. As the body count starts to pile up, we get to see elements of the Predator's arsenal, fighting style and even habits that will become characteristic to how the creatures we would later know to be the Yautja operate. The Yautja are an alien species that arrive on planets they've identified as having the most dangerous life forms they can find, and hunt them down to take their skulls as trophies.
Because essentially they're kind of like their version of, like, those characters, right? Because, like, the reason that the characters are brought together in Predator initially is because they want to make a task force of, like, the best operators and agents that they can, right? But the Predator is kind of just that, except on a universal scale. Like, they're all trying to better themselves and be the best versions of themselves that they can be. So they're constantly, like, sharpening their sword against other, you know, top hunters from other planets across the entire universe, right?
To help them do this,
I do what you do, but better.
A large assortment of alien technology, unlike any gear found on Earth. The jungle hunter that stalks Major Dutch and his men in Predator uses gear that will become characteristic of the species in future films and extended media. A cloaking device that renders a predator almost completely invisible, a wrist gauntlet with a self-destruct mechanism, and a shoulder-mounted anti-projectile weapon known as the Spearcaster. But the most iconic weapon in the Predator's arsenal is the retractable wrist blade, which is commonly considered to be the most honourable weapon a Yautja can use in a hunt, due to its extreme close range.
Yep.
While the weaponry of the Yautja would expand in various future Predator installments, with notable inclusions being the razor network.
It's kind of like, it's almost like a commentary on, like, masculinity, right? Because, like, you know, when they're in charge, like, when Dutch and his men are in charge, and they're super experienced, they're super good, and they're super successful as, like a group, because of, like, how, like they're like how much they lean into their masculinity, like becoming the tip top of the male apex, right? But then, like, it's almost like because of that, they've never experienced what it's like to feel weak and to not feel like in control. And when the predator flips that on its side, it's like, hey, I am actually the apex male here, right? Like, so it's like it's finally them getting to feel what it's like to be in that position, you know? And it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Smart disc and
I
the
love horror.
versatile
This is why I love horror, because it's conversations like that, like just the concepts it introduces that make you think. Like, of course, there's tons of like bargain bin horror that's very much like turn your brain off and watch a jump scare. But there's a lot of like stuff like this, like Predator and Alien, that makes you think. That's what I really like about the genre.
Pretty much everything the original Jungle Hunter rocks up with comes back in some capacity in all the sequels. If a Yautja, not just the Jungle Hunter, but any Yautja, was to come to Dead by Daylight, this would be our starting point to come up with a successful power. The arsenal of a Yautja Hunter is incredibly varied and versatile.
Yep.
It can hunt down its chosen targets in stealth with its cloak and thermal vision, pick them off at range with its firearm, or close the gaps and begin the bloodshed with its wrist blade. This is a lot to pack into a power, despite kind of being the bare minimum you can give to a Predator. Without all these elements as part of its kit, any attempt to adapt the Predator is gonna feel...
He would need to be like a utility killer. Like, he wouldn't be... Like, all of his stuff would have to, like... I don't want to say this because this might sound, like, scary at first, but it's like, all his stuff would have to suck, but he would just have to have a ton of stuff, right? Like, that you could use in so many different situations that it ended up being okay. You would have to be, like, a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none kind of character, where you can do a little bit of, like, what most of the cast can do, but never be better at anybody than like, the masters, right? Like, he has stealth elements, but it's still better to play Ghostface, or, like... He has anti-chase elements, but he's still not better than someone like Blight or Wesker, right? Like, stuff like that.
Feel like it's missing something. And there's the added complication of, well, already having a cloaking killer who is inspired in large part by the Predator.
More like Wraith, yeah.
The Wraith. From the visual shimmer you see as he moves,
yeah,
to the faint snarling and growling sound he makes as he approaches.
Yeah, he is. I've never thought about that. He really is very Predator-inspired, isn't he? I don't know why that never clicked for me, but that's... The shimmer and the growling, yeah, he is kind of a predator. That's weird.
Whatever power they give to a predator, there'd need to be a balance where the cloak is part of the power, but not such a major part that he starts stepping on Wraith's toes.
I just said this. I'm smart.
Think of the relationship between Billy and Bubba, or Spirit and Sadako. We'll get into my power design for a predator killer later, but before I do, I want to talk about character stuff for a second. Because a predator isn't just a mindless beast like a xenomorph or a...
Do you know how cool that would be, too? Just as a concept of, like, to play a jack-of-all-trades character? It really would be a... It really would reward players that play most of the roster. It really would. And there's usually a character like that a lot in, like, fighting games and other genres where, like, you know, there's a character that rewards you for playing most of the roster. And I think that there isn't a character like that exists in DBD yet, where, like, if you play most of the roster, you should main this character because they embody most of the roster. So I think that'd be really cool.
And it's not a single recurring character either, like Pinhead or Michael Myers. The Yautja are a species of aliens who are, in their own ways, pretty human-like. They have their own distinct social hierarchy, customs, and systems of honor and prestige. As such, while most Yautja we see throughout the franchise share many traits with each other, they are all distinct from each other, and should be treated individually to the best of our ability. While this means we have a wealth of predators throughout the franchise's history to draw inspiration from for the base killer and cosmetics, it does unfortunately mean we have to talk about the sequels.
Yep.
And when I say the sequels like that, I don't mean that I hate all the Predator sequels with a burning passion, just most of them.
Yeah, let's say I kind of do.
Each Predator movie has introduced a new variant of Predator or Predators, Predators, that comes with its own unique spin on the formula set up by the original Jungle Hunter. Predator 2 brought the younger and more vicious City Hunter. Predators showed us the honorless outcast known as the Black Predators. The movie that shall not be named brought the gigantic...
This movie was terrible. The Predator? This movie was awful. This movie sucked. Sucked with the capital S. Sucked. Movie was god-awful. It was made by one of the original actors. One of the actors that plays somebody in Dutch's crew made this film, and it was dog. My God.
The ultimate Predator. And Prey showed us the Feral Predator.
The Predator is what it's called next.
A different biome on the Yautja homeworld that's very distinct from the ones we're used to and wield more primitive weaponry than the modern Yautja hunters. That's not to mention the predators that appear in the AVP movies. Who could forget the ultimate alien Riz machine Scar?
Yeah,
Come
he was
on,
cool.
you can't tell me Lex didn't want to face one of those mandibles. And the Xenomorph Queen only killed Scar at the end of the movie because she was just a little hater who was jealous she didn't get to smash. Regardless of which Predator design we'd end up with as a killer
That
for
character was
DVD,
cool. He was
there's
very
no
neat.
reason why we couldn't
That's
get
like one of the
at least
only
some
redeeming factors of AVP is that Scar's kind of cool. That's it. That's it. It's like that's about all that you watch that movie for, is just to watch him be cool. That's it.
Cosmetics. The only thing I think we could never get would be the 11-foot tall Ultimate Predator, which, given it's from Shane Black's Predator movie, that's not the worst thing in the world they're missing out on. Of course, I discussed my disdain for the Predator's approach to autism in my previous video on Claudette.
Yep.
But there's so much more.
Which is
wrong
why
with that movie.
another reason the Predator movie was terrible.
On top of the hideously unfunny comedy, bizarre obsession with stock sound effects, and Steve Wilder getting his role cut from the movie when Olivia Munn discovered he was a sex offender, the Predator was received terribly
Didn't know that.
by critics and audiences alike. for
Didn't know that.
being a
That's disgusting.
plot with uninspiring characters that also happened to rewrite 30 years of established Predator lore and history for absolutely no reason at all. Suddenly, the Yautja weren't a species of technologically advanced warriors hunting the universe's most dangerous game for fun and sport. You know, the one consistent part about their species that we've known since day one. But instead, they're cultivating the human race to harvest their DNA. And the ultimate predator abducts the male lead autistic son because it views him as the next stage of human evolution, which suggests the master plan of the Yautja, spanning centuries of human genetic research, was to make their species autistic. Yeah,
He's not making that up. That is literally the plot of that film. There's no exaggerations there. So tone deaf. So stupid. So f***ing dumb.
Predator fan who respects this movie either as a movie or as a piece of Predator canon. If you do, then good for you, but I'm pretty sure most people would be much happier if we had pretended this movie didn't exist. But that's not to say that most of the other Predator sequels are masterworks of filmmaking either, because
they're kind of
just
both
not.
bad. They're both bad.
It says a lot that Alien vs. Predator is simultaneously the third worst Alien movie and the third best Predator movie, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
And while it consistently made pretty good box office money with the help of the AVP spin-off to keep the franchise relevant, it took 30 years for us to finally get a Predator sequel worthy of, or even superior to, the original movie. Before we continue, a word from today's sponsor.
Which we will
When you
watch.
suffered an injury, it can be easy to feel powerless.
This is the one from the other one.
Like a strange invisible monster is bearing down on you, and you are unable to fend it off.
This is
on
the same
your
one from the Alien.
But thankfully, Morgan & Morgan can take up the fight for you.
How did this
and
happen?
make that
I'm so
monster bleed a different
curious.
shade of green.
How did?
Injured and don't know where to start.
How did
with
he?
Morgan & Morgan,
How
it's
did he
so
get
easy to
a
make those first
like
few
a?
steps to gain the compensation
How
you
did he
deserve.
get a?
Hiring a lawyer can be
Whatchamacallit?
daunting.
A
But with Morgan &
sponsor in a
Morgan, you
law
can submit
firm.
a claim without ever having to leave the couch. In 8 clicks or less, you can submit your claim to Morgan & Morgan and begin the process of recovery
Like, how did this
and
happen?
compensation.
You wouldn't think these would go
Since you
together,
can text
but
your
apparently that's a
attorney
thing.
and legal team for the duration of your case. There's a need to wait around in stuffy office buildings or go to consultations. The whole process is simple, professional, and accessible. For more information, you can find Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com or dial #law in your phone. Now, let's talk about Predator. August 2022 saw the release of Prey on Hulu and Disney+.
We have the same phone
prequel
cover.
To the other Predator movies, which saw a
That's
young
weird.
Comanche girl by the name of No prove herself as she hunts, and is hunted by a fearsome predator in the 1719 Great Plains. Despite being denied a theatrical release, because 20th Century Studios are just incredibly cringe,
Yeah, they are.
Prey was received amazingly.
Yeah, I heard it was
And
great.
it serves to put both the Predator franchise and Prey's phenomenal lead Amber Midthunder on the track to a hopefully bright and exciting future. And this is where I may draw some minor controversy, which, as you may have already picked up, I fucking adore Prey. To the point I think it's better than the original movie.
Really?
Yeah,
I really
know
got to see it
a
then.
sequel doing the original
I really got to see that
is
then.
basically sacrilege, but hear me out. Predator is a classic, I know. But if you ask me, Prey outdoes it with more tense action, better pacing, and a far better cast that's enhanced by the context of pre-colonial America. The main cast is entirely Native American, and there are Native crew members on every production department.
That's really
including
cool.
Producer Jane Myers, to ensure Prey was accurate and respectful to Comanche culture as possible.
That's awesome.
This ranges from big things, like Comanche gender roles and horse riding culture being present in the script, to small things like how they brush their teeth, or the superstition of whistling in the forest to summon evil spirits.
Yeah.
I firmly believe
That's
that
cool.
a Predator chapter in Dead by Daylight, Prey should be where
Actually
we
knew that
look
one.
for characters and ideas to adapt. A big part of that is Prey's incredibly compelling and likable lead Naru, who had not only introduced DBD's first Native American character to the game, but also because Naru was just the most interesting Predator protagonist we've ever had. Plus, if the coyness of Amber Midthunder in interviews is to be understood correctly, then a Prey sequel with her return is very much on the cards, which would make her the first returning protagonist in the Predator history, and more or less the face of the franchise in the 21st century.
Yeah, like Predators, it's heavily implied. I don't know the lore of Predators, but it's like the main guy, Adrian Brody's character, kind of alludes that he either is Dutch or like worked with Dutch or something weird like that. And it was just kind of awkward because they didn't feel like, I don't know, it was just weird.
We talk all the time about all kinds of things, and that was probably one.
And you want the sequel to happen?
Of course. Yeah.
You're ready for it?
I'm ready. I loved that experience. I love that movie, and yeah, I would be happy to,
Good for her.
see where
Good for her.
where
Feels
else
good,
we can
man.
take it.
Before I talk more about Naru and Prey, and its suitability for Dead by Daylight, I gotta warn you that we're heading into spoiler territory for Prey. So if you haven't seen it, go give it a watch.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right now. Okay, I'm gonna get it spoiled for me. Still watch it later. We're gonna get spoiled for me. If you guys want to watch it, vacate the premises. Vacate the premises right now. I can still get enjoyment from a movie even if I know what happens. So I'm cool with that. But if you're not cool with that, this is the time to leave.
Even if you've never seen a Predator movie before in your life, because Prey really is just that good. If you want to, you can just skip ahead though to the power and perks. The timestamp is on the screen right now.
Watch Prey right now, not on Twitch.
Popular enough to contend with Naru's spot as a potential survivor would be Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch, which, while he's definitely quite the icon, would come with its complications.
Heavy price?
The biggest issue by far would be the difficulty in acquiring the likeness of Arnold Schwarzenegger for the model.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 got it for Terminator, but that's Warner Brothers money.
Yep.
And crucially, when the Terminator crossover happened for Death Garden, that was just the T-100 endoskeleton. And
yep, that wasn't him.
Using Arnie's likeness.
Yep.
Plus, if we were ever to get a Terminator in DVD, it'd kind of be awkward to the T-800 having to square off with a completely different Arnold Schwarzenegger character, and that might damage gameplay clarity.
I've never thought about that. That's actually true. You think about that? It'd be like that Spider-Man. He was like, wait a minute. You look like me.
There's also the rather less practical issue of Dutch fitting the Survivor formula far less easily than Naru does.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, that's why I end up not playing Chris Redfield. Chris Redfield is my favorite Resident Evil character, and I love him to death. But you never see me play him in Dead by Daylight, because, quite frankly, he could just beat most of the killers. Like, in a fist fight. Like, it doesn't matter if they have a knife. He could just disarm them and beat the snot out of them. So it just feels weird to play Chris, because I know Chris could beat most of the roster of killers. Stupid.
Dutch is a big, strong army man who's shown effortlessly carving his way through soldiers before he takes on the Predator. It's a Goliath versus Goliath story.
Yep.
By comparison, Naru starts out as an underdog, as despite the fact that she's a skilled and respected tracker and field medic, her personal drive to become a hunter puts her on a journey of growth that starts with hunting birds with her brother and ends with carrying the Predator's head back with her to the camp and being declared war chief. Prey is a
he would snap Hag like a stick.
And that fits the way DBD works way more cleanly. Individually, the survivors cannot fight back against the killer in a tangible way, but as a group they can use intelligence, teamwork and adaptability to make it out alive and enjoy the victories. That intelligence and ability to adapt is probably Naru's defining trait. She's not a natural hunter the way someone like Dutch or her brother Tabe is, but it's her ability to observe, learn and adapt to her environment that allows her to take down the feral predator at the end. Far from the difficulty of acquiring former California Governor Schwarzenegger's likeness and voice, getting the likeness and voice of Amber Midthunder would be very doable and absolutely fantastic. I love when the Resident Evil survivors got voice lines from the lobby.
Yeah, it's
Why
very
not
cool.
Give Naru some
Very cool.
too in a mixture of English and Comanche.
Oh, that'd be sick. I
Prey
would
was
love
the
that.
first feature film ever given a Comanche dub, and it was all done by original voice actors.
Oh, that's
It'd be
cool.
almost sinful
definitely
if
watching
the
it after
language
this.
wasn't brought in with Naru into the game in some capacity.
Well, I have to get
And
into
what
it,
would
but
our young hunter be
figure it
without
out.
the monster she's hunting? The feral predator is Naru's quarry throughout the events of Prey, and you might notice it's very visually different from the Yautja we've seen in prior installments. According to director Dan Trachtenberg, that's because this predator is from a different biome than the jungle hunter and the other predators we've seen in the franchise thus far.
Good night, Xander. Appreciate
With a
you.
different physiology, culture, and even diet.
Interesting.
While this isn't the first time a predator redesign has happened, it's easily the most radical redesign of the alien to date, and it perfectly suits the more grounded tone of Prey. Instead of gunfire and explosions spraying everywhere, Prey is all about simple, brutal violence for a simpler time that's better suited to the Yautja's ritualistic love of close combat. The bone mask, the absence of the, I want to call them tactical fishnets, and replacing the plasma caster with the Spearcaster affirms this predator as a simpler, more refined hunter for a more civilized age. It would be sacrilegious.
Yeah, it's like nowadays. Like some people take up like archery over like, you know, actually learning like modern weaponry. Like that actually is an interesting concept that actually has some place in just like normal psychology, right? Like in real world, right? Some people just like there are plenty of people who are like trained, accomplished swordsmen in 2023. And that's not like what we would fight a war with, right? But like they are experts and they are very well respected, which is interesting.
To suggest that DBD wouldn't represent one of those classic Predator designs, to instead pick the feral Predator as an opponent to Naru. But, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. Prey has already set new standards for what a Predator movie can be, and will probably be a key part of the franchise's future. It brought Predator back
There's a
from
dog?
the dead. And if any movie
yeah,
deserves to overshadow the original and basically have a chapter to itself, it's Prey. However, when designing the power for the Predator, I made sure to design it in a way to fit any Yautja, not just the feral Predator. Replace the word Spearcaster with Plasma Caster and Spear with Plasma Bolt or something, and this power could work one-to-one for the Jungle Hunter or any other Yautja, not spoiled by the fetid touch of Shane Black.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here is my power, add-ons, and
Ooh,
perks.
here we go. Here we go.
I got perks this time too,
It's a good part.
for a Predator chapter. Tell me what you think. The new killer, the Predator, comes with a wrist blade as its weapon, and its power is called the most dangerous prey. And it comes in, wait, hang on a minute, 4 parts? The first part is the Spearcaster. Using the power button, the Predator can pull out the Spearcaster, slowing itself to 3.8 meters per second. After 0.2 seconds aiming down sights, the Predator can fire a spear for a magazine of 3.
Ooh.
Each spear that hits a survivor afflicts them with hindered, stacking for each successful hit beyond the
Oh.
first, kind of like Pinhead's chains.
Oh.
After clearing the magazine, the Spearcaster needs to reload for 3 seconds.
So the
slowing
Spearcaster theoretically here isn't going to do any damage at all. It's just going to slow you down. Interesting. So it's like a time investment for a hit and not actually a
to
hit.
do so. The second part is called Cloaking Device. Using the Activability button, the Predator can activate Cloaking Device, which will persist for up to 30 seconds. During this time, the Predator moves at 130% speed and becomes undetectable but cannot attack.
Good.
Within 16 meters, the Predator's Cloaking Device will shimmer like wraiths if it's moving, and within 12 meters, the Predator will kick up dust that will give away
That's
its
cool.
location.
I like the kick up dust idea.
Cloaking Device has a cooldown of 30 seconds. In Cloaking Device, the basic attack button is replaced by Thermal Vision, and the Spearcaster is replaced by Targeting System.
Oh, that would be so cool. That's so cool. I would love to have thermal imaging as like power in DVD. I don't care if it's busted. I would love to have just put on my thermal sights as a killer in the middle of a match. That'd be sick.
Thermal Vision puts the thermal imaging filter in place of the Predator's vision, highlighting the aura of all survivors who are running or performing conspicuous actions further than 24 meters from the Predator, as well as blood trails at any range.
Let's see. Thermal vision. I need to read this. I know he just said it, but thermal vision puts the thermal imaging filter place of Predator's vision. Running. So if you stay still, he doesn't see you, just like in the movie. Oh. Yeah, that's all about changing age. Interesting.
Thermal vision is on a gauge that lasts 8 seconds and recharges while cloaking device isn't being used.
Would be, you know how cool that would be? You know how cool that would be? Like if my only thing is I would want you to be able to like know he's doing it somehow. Maybe not map wide, but like if you visually see him like shimmering, well yeah, because this is why he's cloaked, so you can see the shimmer. So yeah, that already is a thing. That would be neat. Like if you see him shimmering, you stay still. Like that's actually like that's introducing a little bit of horror to DBD's gameplay. Because if you see a shimmer in the distance, you freeze. Like a T-Rex. You're like, and then he loses track of you? Might be an interesting interaction. That might actually be really fun on both sides.
During cloaking device, Spearcaster is replaced by targeting system. When targeting system is activated, the Predator is slowed at 3 meters per second, and a triple laser will be projected in a straight line. If the laser touches the survivor, they will become triangulated at 10 triangulation points. Survivors gain 10 points for every second the targeting system is actually aimed on their body, and lose 10 for every second the targeting system is not aimed at them. At 0 points, the Predator is forced out of targeting system and cloaking device. At 30 points, triangulated is replaced with target locked. The Predator will immediately fire
that sounds really complicated, though.
shots that will home in on the locked target. A single spear will take a full health state from a locked target, but make them immune to further spear hits from that volley.
This sounds really strong in an open area, but you imagine this on a tile, you're never getting that. You know? Like if this sounds scary, imagine this on a tile. Like a jungle gym. Like that, you're not gonna realistically get that. So it's not as unbalanced as it sounds.
Environment to stop the spears by turning a tight corner that the turtles can't get them around, for example, or even using a locker.
Yeah, I see.
Spears lose them.
Yeah,
The spears will also time out after 5 seconds of flight. And there's a list of add-ons to the power as well that I've had a lot of fun making. And let's not forget perks. Yeah, I haven't done perks since Resident Evil 7 video, and I'm really pleased with the ones I come up with. The Predator comes with 3 new perks. Grizzly Trophy. Whenever you basic attack a survivor while another survivor is on a hook 60 meters or more from you, Grizzly Trophy activates. Your lunge range and break speed is increased by 30% until the survivor is unhooked, and links for 30 seconds once that survivor is unhooked. Worthy prey.
That's interesting. See, when a basic attack was... Oh, so it's like a hey, you better unhook this guy quick perk. You know, it's forcing the unhook quickly. That could get kind of nasty with campers, though. Just a thought. That's a cool concept. I like the idea of a perk that forces you to unhook quicker. That's smart, because it's introducing a new form of gameplay of like, you better hook this guy quickly. We're on a timer here. You have to be far away. Sorry, 60 meters. Yeah. That's at the beginning. Yeah. Toto reading when I am not reading. Yeah. So you can't use it at camp. He thought of that. Good. 60 meters isn't that far away? True. It's far, but it's not like that far. Guess you're right. Oh, I feel like this could work. You just need to work on the numbers to make it like not campy. Make it maybe longer. Yeah, like maybe if you increase this number up here, maybe that'd be fine. Yeah, that's just a bit longer, Shaq. Yeah. Make it like, yeah. That way, if he wanted to, you'd have to run like 2 or 3 tiles worth of distance to come back to you. Yeah. But it's a cool idea. I like the idea of having a perk that forces you to unhook quicker. Because like the only thing that really does that is Monstrous Shrine, and you don't really see people using that. So another perk that kind of like puts stress on the survivors to unhook quick sounds interesting. Like really interesting.
Whenever an injured survivor escapes chase from you, they become the obsession after 10 seconds. Stuns and blind inflicted by the obsession last 50% shorter, and if the obsession is exhausted, their exhaustion does not recover while they're repairing generators, which lingers 5 seconds once the repairs stop.
I like that. See, like we were talking about this with the Myers thing, about how like, you know, we wish we had more perks that were all about going after the obsession or improved your chases against the obsession, because for some reason, despite the obsession mechanic implying that the monstrous killer is obsessed with you, most of the perks in the game benefit from avoiding the obsession, which inherently is not what an obsession is. So I like that this is a perk that that enforces you going after the obsession, and it gives you a benefit to chasing after the obsession. This is kind of like this is kind of like keeping on the Myers perspective, the Myers comparison here rather. This is kind of like running J. Myers Memorial versus Judas Journal. So like Judas Journal is theoretically better than J. Myers Memorial. Both are stock add-ons, by the way, that make you get more stock. J. Myers Memorial is good because it applies that speed to everyone, whereas J. Myers or Judas Journal is theoretically a higher value, which is better, but it only applies to one person, which is the obsession. So it's kind of applying this with like Enduring and this is kind of applying this with like Enduring and his idea of Worthy Prey. Is you could run Enduring and just have that stun lowered without any crazy effect, or you could take Worthy Prey, you know, and then just have like 50% that higher value, but only against that obsession, and also have the exhausted effect. So it's like you're trading like a blanket effect for a more potent effect, which I like the idea of. Like, this is, like, better Enduring in certain situations, but in other situations, not so much. So it's kind of like you have to play to it or make the decision of, do I want the more blanket effect or do I want something more potent? Which I like the idea of. Or you can just run both and be weirdo. Just be no stun person. No stun, hubris. Worthy Prey, Enduring, hubris. Worthy Prey, Enduring, hubris. Just be an absolute menace. Nemesis the Judas? It is. It really, really is. I haven't done that in so long. But it is a fun combo, yeah.
And the last killer perk is Hex Hunter's Territory. When the trial begins, the killer has 2 stacks of Hunter's Territory. At any time, the killer can crush a dull or boon totem and rekindle a Hex Hunter's Territory totem in its place, consuming 1 stack
a Hex you can place! A Hex you can choose the place of
Hunter's Territory. Survivors that come within 12 meters of a Hunter's Territory totem have the aura reveal for 4 seconds. Whenever the killer hooks a unique survivor, they gain a stack. And finally, Naru's perks. They gain a stack.
I want to look at this. I'm trying to get 2 stacks. Oh, so you can regain stacks. I was like, what is the stacks things about? I'm like, oh, you start with 2, but you lose them when you put them down. This is a really cool idea. Because this is like trap totems, right? It's like trap totems, right? Like you're putting little, like it's info traps, but they're still traps, right? Like you're setting down totems, or hexes rather, that like give you info. And you can do 2. So you basically like pick an area and you say, hey, this is and this would be really, you know how cool this would be on like Trapper and stuff, where you're all about that territory, right? Like, this is a perk that would be cool on so many different killers. You know? Like, this is applicable to a lot of people, not just, like, the character it comes with. Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. I really like that. There's... Info perks are kind of limited to, like, barbecue lethal, you know? I use surveillance, but I'm a weirdo, right? People don't really use surveillance. Or, like, Floods of Rage. That's kind of like the biggest new one that's come out recently, that Floods Rage. I would like another really, really cool info perk like that. You don't like that you can just break dual totems with it? I mean, what theoretically is the difference between that and just spawning in with the hexes? Well, that's what I think that's what this clause under here is about. Is like, if Penamento and Hunter's Territory are both equipped and a totem is rekindled, the Hunter's Territory will be on that totem. Stacks to spend. In case it'll be Penamento instead. So, depending on how you read that, it makes it sound like it'll be Pentamento instead of Hunter's Territory, unless I'm reading that wrong. Like, it seems like it's like one or the other. Like, you can't do both. Because it says Hunter's Territory will be on the totem. If you have to rekindle it. But if there's nothing left, it'll become Penamento. That's how I read that. So maybe that'd be fine. So I think it. I mean, if I'm reading that right, that sounds okay. Like where you have to, it defaults to one or the other depending, instead of just like having you essentially be able to like farm Penimento. You know, could be silly. But yeah.
And finally, Naru's perks. Feel Medicine. Whenever you completely open a chest while injured, you gain half your missing healing progression instantly. You also gain a 33% speed boost to your healing if you're carrying any item that is not a medkit.
Interesting.
Deep.
What's stopping you from just running this with pharmacy and just like speed healing? Oh. Gain at 33% healing boost. Alright. Yeah, I like that. I like this other part. But that also makes it like botany. I don't know about this one. Doesn't work with the... No, but like... No, Toto, what I'm saying is like... Whenever you gain completely open a chest while injured, which is pharmacy's prerequisite, you gain 50% of your health back. And then you just pick up the green med kit and heal yourself. Like, even without this 30% speed... That is like really, really good, because the green medkit already, because it guarantees a green medkit, pharmacy does, which is like already the fastest self heal, or natural self heal. So theoretically you could just like cheese health states with that, theoretically, by putting it with pharmacy, and then you could just like what, put the medkit down, pick up your other item, and have 33% healing speed. Yeah. I don't know, it's dedicating 2 perks to it, so it's one of those things where it's like, we'd have to like, play with it in a PTB and see if we could abuse it, you know? But that's what first came to mind.
Wood Tracker. Any auras you read can also be seen by survivors within 16 meters of you.
Oh.
When outside of the killer's terror radius, the activity button places the glass bead marker like the one from a map.
Weird. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. No, so like you could like run like object. You can run object and just like share that with people as long as you like stick close to someone else. Might be interesting. Huh. Weird.
And the last perk for Naru is Bushcraft. When you are carrying...
That'd be cool if Fogwise this. 2 of you on a gen and you're hitting the greats. You're on Fogwise. You have Fogwise, you're on a gen, you're hitting the great skill checks, and you're both stacked on the gen, and they both see what's happening with Deepwood. That would actually be pretty cool. That actually have some good synergy.
Carrying an empty toolbox, flashlight, or medkit, Bushcraft activates. Press the reassurance button to destroy the item and Bushcraft will gain a charge.
Oh.
At 3 charges, you can activate Bushcraft to create an item of a type and rarity based on the items destroyed this way.
Whoa.
I hope you can see why I've gone
Wait.
ham on the...
Go with the example. I want to read that example. Whoa. Beat a brown toolbox, a yellow toolbox, and a purple medkit. The item has a 2/3 chance of being oh, it's a chance thing. Okay. Being a toolbox and 1/3 of being a medkit. Oh, so like... That's interesting. It's like you mash it up, and then at 3 charges you get a random thing back after it's used. Yeah, some of these are pretty complicated, Adrian. It's okay. Predator is a complicated IP, so the perks are matching the complicatedness of the IP. So that's not you. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I like that it's random, so you can't just like, I wasted my purple beamer, now I just recreate a purple beamer. But you can, theoretically, if the RNG is in your favor. So it's kind of like adding RNG to DVD, which is what it's supposed to be about. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah. Don't really get the point of it. It's so like, I think it's just a fun perk. Honestly, I don't think it's supposed to be like good. I think it's supposed to just be fun. 3 items just make it random? Yeah, I don't know if like... I don't think 3 is good. I think that's a little harsh. Could probably lower it to 2. Search chest. I mean, you would have to search at least like you'd have to search like 2 chests to do that. Whispering appraisal. Yeah. So like maybe 2 charges, and then you can do it. Because that you could bring an item, waste it, need to search a chest, waste it, and then you can just look what I found, you know, and then hit the randomizer. I think that'd be a little bit. Yeah, you're right. The three seems a little steep, but you know, maybe 2 would be fine. Yeah.
And the last perk for Naru is Bushcraft.
Okay, we already.
At 3 charges, you can activate Bushcraft to create an item of a type and rarity based on the items destroyed this way. I hope you can see why I've gone so ham on the ideas and concepts for this video in a way I haven't done since my Resident Evil 7 video. While I firmly believe Alien is both the superior franchise in terms of overall quality, and is certainly
bring a
the
medkit, then
definitive
pharmacy,
work of
and then
sci-fi
get a third
horror in
item.
Hollywood, deserves a spot in DBD's Horror Hall of Fame, I find Predator as a franchise and the Yautja as a species to actually be more interesting to talk about. In part, it's because the average quality of a Predator franchise installment is so low that there's a ton of untapped potential that future Predator movies could explore, despite the original film having 4 sequels and 2 spin-off movies.
They're just
And also
all bad
because
except for like
Predator
1.
is surprisingly different from most sci-fi action movies that lets them tread on the boundaries of horror without stepping fully into it. Within a narrative, the xenomorphs are just another utterly alien species. They're big scary monsters that want to kill everything that isn't them. They're an apocalyptic threat no different than the Daleks or the Borg or the Tyranids, and that restricts them both to certain settings and to certain kinds of stories. These are restrictions that the Yautja do not have, because they're a lot like us.
Yeah,
and the relationship with humans is not entirely antagonistic.
Yeah, like if you are a good hunter, they love you. You know, like if you earn their respect, like dude, they're cool with you. They're like, that's a good one. You should fight that one. Have you met Dale from Sales? Dale from Sales has won every single fist fight his entire life. You should go fist fight Dale. Dale's sick. Like they're interesting.
Yes, they come to Earth to kill people for fun, but it's not like they're at war with the human race. To them, we're not sworn enemies to exterminate, but worthy prey, capable of taking them on in a fair fight, to the point that they see us at the top of Earth's food chain, and therefore suitable to use the entire Yautja arsenal to hunt us. It's what allows individual predators to express their own personalities throughout the series. Scar's surprisingly charming relationship with Lex is very distinct from, say, the cocky, inexperienced jungle hunter, who plays with his food and takes off his mask.
Yeah, like the Predator from the first movie, like, he's kind of a reckless gamer. He just kind of like, I'm just going to kill all these guys, and I'm going to go home, and everything's going to be peachy keen. And he actually finds heavy resistance in Dutch, and it's almost like kind of frustrating to him, because he expected a clean sweep, right? Whereas Scar is kind of like, he's like, wow, this chick can actually fight. I'm really impressed. Can I take you home? You know? Like Scar is way more, like, respectful of, like the art of the hunt, whereas this guy's a little bit more like, brother, you're just a pain in my ass. It's just funny. Hey, Jess, how are you, friend? It's been a while. How are you? I know you've been working the 2-job thing, which must be... Bleh. But hopefully you've been well.
To fight Dutch head-on at the end, or the feral predator, who's never been to Earth before and spends the early stages of the movie trying to figure out the planet's wildlife. It's no coincidence that the only Predator movie that tried to give the Yautja a more unified goal as a species
I'm a little tired,
happened to have been so awful it's basically been exiled from Predator canon by the fans at this point.
Yeah.
It's that intimacy
For many good
and
reasons.
kind of personal relationship between any given movie's Predator and its chosen quarry that gives Predator that glamour of a slasher movie, despite Predator not
I'm sorry you
being
haven't been
a
doing well,
horror
though,
movie at
Jess.
all.
If you
That
need to
vibe
talk
of
about it, I'm always here for
Predator
you.
as a kind of pseudo-slasher film, I think makes it a perfect fit for a future DVD chapter, and yet one that would kind of come out of left field despite the franchise's high popularity and renown. While it wouldn't be a completely out there surprise to get Predator in Dead by Daylight someday, it'd definitely be unexpected. And regardless of whether we got something old or something new, I'd say any day we got the universe's apex Predator in Dead by Daylight
Less than 2.
would be a day worth
I appreciate you too. I'm sorry
celebrating.
things haven't been well.
What's everything I have to say about the Predator? Do you share my enthusiasm for Prey? Would you rather see the original, or perhaps even one of the sequels represented in Dead by Daylight? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, please do sure to subscribe, do all the other social things. Special thanks once more to Morgan and Morgan for their continued support.
Which is such a weird sponsor. I still
For yourself
understand.
new representation, you can always find the links in the description and in the pinned comments. So that's there if you need it. And once again, thanks to my beloved patrons, whose names will be obviously at the end of the video, but I just thought it deserves a little thanks as well for just being excellent people who contribute to the upkeep of this channel. You will see this video a day early, so if you're interested in joining early access game, getting some other sweet perks, access to the exclusive Discord chat, then the Patreon link is in the description as well, along with all my other socials. This week sees the arrival of the new mid-chapter and the new tome featuring the Knight and Vittorio, so I can't wait to cover that. So I
Gross!
guess I'll see you
Gross!
when it comes time to talk about that.
Gross!
Ta-ta for now.
Disgusting. Disgusting! Disgusting! Yeah, this was pretty cool. I think, like, yeah, I like the character ideas a lot. The power of the perks are, you know, pretty neat. They do try to be more emblematic of the character. It's a lot of these, unfortunately, is something that I feel like I'd have to play with, you know, to like something I would feel like I'd have to like actually play with to like kind of see like, is this good? Is this alright? Or is this like, yeah, you know, like a lot of the design ideas in this video are very like, they could be like really meh, or they could be really, really good and awesome and cool. So and that's like, in theory, what could be the best, or it could also be meh. You know, it's like, I like the ideas on paper. On paper, they sound great. It's just like, how would they actually play out in the game? You know, I very much liked the Hex territory perk as an idea. Thought that was cool. Her perks were not very, like the survivor perks. They were okay. The power sounded interesting, especially with the thermal imaging. Ooh, sounded neat. Yeah, it would be one of those things we'd have to like, if it ever theoretically came to the game, we'd have to like test and see. A lot of stuff that's like on the edge there. So yeah.